Hello everyone, this is Milana Mill, and this time I'm gonna do a lip tutorial. At first I thought of only doing like a painting itself, but then I was like, well, while I'm at it, why not add some practical tips as well. And here I have a face sketch that I did for this sole purpose. You can praise me. And I just want to show you a few things about, the mouse area and like couple of common mistakes that, especially if you're a beginner, what usually I see people doing, and just help people to understand how the lips work. Now, the first thing is really simple. We should know is that lips should align with the nose and the chin. It's basically a perfect line, if you can. It's basically a perfect line if you want to think it like that. Of course, the face is never symmetrical. Of course, the face is never a perfectly symmetrical, even in this case, which you can see. But that's okay. The faces in real life aren't perfectly symmetrical either. But of course, sorry, I'm having a little bit issues with my throat. But in real life, there are cases when the lips are like a little bit to the side. But if you do it in art, it's just gonna seem like wrong. Unless you somehow justify what you're doing, it's just gonna seem like a bad anatomy, and just not really attractive. So I would stick to the keep it in the middle rule. Now, when you know this, the another thing is how far how far the lips should be from the chin. Now, for this, I don't have exactly like a sort of rule that's written to the stone, but just make sure that it's not too close to the chin. Of course, that's also a preference, but it looks a lot more decent when there is space between the lips and the chin rather than having like, oops, that's the wrong one. Like if you are just like gonna do it like this, there's not really space between the chin and the and the lips. So it's not gonna look as attractive. So in this kind of semi-realistic anime, whatever you want to call it, leave the space. And important thing that I personally like, or the thing to help you, is that that's a little bit of that's too dark. I don't want it to be that dark. I just want to demonstrate. So I'm just gonna demonstrate a little bit. Now, so when you're doing a lips, the lips usually pop out of the face, meaning that this area is usually you have the cupid's bow. It's called cupid's bow, this thing in here, and then there's usually a shadow that falls under the lips. That's because it's going inwards. Of course, that depends on the lighting, but we're just gonna assume it's a normal kind of day-to-day life. Like, I love my voice. Gosh, of course it has to go just when I'm about to do a video, and this part is usually the most highlighted part. So just I have to edit this sound, but just make sure that the highlight doesn't really go like all the way here, because that's not how the chin really works. The chin kinda usually pops out of the face, like the lips pop out, the chin pops out, and so does the bridge of the nose. Like the nose pops out, chin, lips, and possible cheekbones, which are usually here. And the parts that are in the shadow are usually in here, maybe a little bit under the chin, and possibly here, depending if, well, in usual cases the eyes kind of sink into the head, and here. This is just to demonstrate the fast sculpture of the face. So it's important. So this is gonna be, I'm just gonna remove all the useless things in here. Actually, why don't I? Bleh. So what I'm just gonna do is, so here's the shadow that falls under the lips, because I need a lip highlight. And here's the part that basically pops out of the chin. So so this is just to help you a little bit, like, to understand how the chin works, and just leave enough space for the chin, instead of like making my voice is cracked. But like, instead of just making it too small. Also the chin, even though in anime and manga we see a lot of small chin people, like, you know, the chins are really more small or unnoticeable, but if you're doing this kind of semi-realistic, the chin actually brings a lot of, like, I don't know, what is that word that I'm wanting to use? But it sort of brings like dynamics to the face. So I would actually like, so it's, let's just say it's important. You don't want to make it too small. Now another thing that you kind of notice, that especially a beginner artist do, is that I'm just, oh, wrong. Now this is just something I drew fast, so it's supposed to be when the mouth is open, but I was a little bit lazy, so I just drew it really fast. Now there's some teeth. It looks pretty horrible, but it's okay. It's not supposed to. And the thing in here, as you can see, is that when you open the mouth, what especially like the beginner artists try to do is that they want to keep the distance from, like, they want to keep the chin's distance from the mouth the same, whatever it's open or closed. And what they actually end up doing is that they try to raise the nose and the mouth to, you know, make it so that it doesn't go like this. So what they, instead of, oops. So what they do instead is that they try to raise the, what's going on here? I don't know what's happening. Oh yeah, I drew on the wrong layer. Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, basically what they try to do is that they try to keep the space between the chin and the lower part of the mouth, not mouse. I'm sorry, I'm being laggy. so they end up raising the nose and the chin, and that's just gonna look really weird. Like, it doesn't fit to the picture anymore. No, thank you. Bless me. Bless me. Now, what you should be doing instead is oops. I still have this in here. Go away. Go away. And that's just not how you work with. And here's oops. Now here's the thing. That this part I need a color. This part, like the upper part of the face, doesn't move. Like when the mouth is open, you don't do anything to this part. This part of the face doesn't change. Anything above this line doesn't change. Instead, what you do is that you move, like when the mouth is open, the upper part stays the same. Sometimes this is changed in animation, but you know, if you do it right, then it can work. But if you do it in art, then just keep this in mind. So as you can see, these here's what the lips look like when they're oops. Had trouble with layers. I should name these. But yeah, here you can see the upper lip. Here, and when the mouth is open, the upper lip still stays the same. That's how you should do. Now there's only a chin problem, which you actually fix quite easily. I'm just gonna use. Another thing not to do is, because you want to lower the chin, because this is the only part that moves. But you don't want to do this. Like, you don't want to lower the whole chin. You just, because these are the attachment points. These are where the jaw starts, and that doesn't really change. So what you do instead is that you just you have to just remember these. Like, the attachment point don't change, so you don't really go and move the chin around. Or the chin, I mean the bottom jaw doesn't move. So instead you just kind of lower the jaw the way you need to do it. My voice is cracking. And now it's working better. Like, this is how the mouth works. So that's sort of like the first the first thing I wanted to get out of the way, because it's gonna help. It's gonna help you if you know that, if you know how it works. Like, when you think about it, it's kind of obvious that, yeah, actually now that I think about it, when I talk, the only thing that moves is my lower jaw. But since we see in so many medias, especially like in anime and manga, where the mouth kind of moves upwards as well, then we kind of just miss, like, we suddenly just kind of forget to actually think about it. We just take it as granted, like, oh, this is how you do it. But no, that's not how you do it. It can work in some types of animation, mostly as comical effect, but like, if you're doing serious work, then just keep it in mind. Sorry, I had to drink a little bit. Voice is going down. Now what I have here is two fast sketches of lips. I think you can guess which one is which. Like this, it's men versus woman, or woman versus men in this scenario. And Now I wanted to point out the difference because we all know we all know a lot about, like, at least when I started to actually paint, because when you're doing anime or manga, like a traditional type, you don't actually really think about the lips that much because it's usually just the same as the skin color, right? But when you start to paint, you actually have to do something with the skin, like the lip color. You cannot just leave it the same as the skin because then it's just gonna look really weird. But so I kind of wanted to emphasize on the difference between men and women. Now keep in mind that in real life, this is not an absolute, like, this is not a rule. This is not an absolute rule. There are guys in real life that has lips like this, like very pink, very, you know, very pink and very kissable. but but if you look at the like things like games or movies, or especially like animated games and movies that uses like 3D or some other technology, even if it's realistic. Why was I stuttering? But yeah, even if it's realistic, uh, the girls' lips are always sort of emphasized more, and the guys' lips are just kind of, you know, we try to avoid, like, giving them too much attention. It's it's why again? But yeah, it's kind of like stereotype coming true, because in real life, women, we usually, well, we fake our lip size, paint, like we use lipstick and lip gloss and we paint over the lips. My friends do that. I never really done that. I don't. But we try to make them seem bigger and beautiful, while guys, they just have their natural lips, and that's kind of what emphasized in media. Even though the girl, like, even if you have a media and, like, well, basically any kind, and the girl doesn't use makeup, the lips are still given some sort of, like, touch, usually, to make them more appealing than guys' lips. And the majority of the differences is, first, the color. I just, none of, like, these are both natural. Natural. but it's what is natural when you do this kind of medium. Of course, it's not the same as, like, realistic, but we are not really aiming for realistic anyway. Anyway, the biggest difference that you probably see is the shape and the color. Like, girls' lips are more, like, more emphasized. They are more rosy colored. They're kind of like heart shaped, while a guy's lips are more hard around the edges. Like, overall, I think that this demonstrates the overall difference between men and women in the media. Guys are more, like, if you had to compare guys and girls with, like, if you if you had to compare guys and girls as if they were, like, shapes, then the girl would be the round ball and the guy would be the block, like just a regular box or something. Because that's how it goes. Girls have softer, more softer curves, and guys are more, they have more rougher and, more more stick-like features. I don't really know what I'm doing, but like this is like a girl. As you can see, it's soft and curvy, but guys are kind of like, see, like girls are soft, guys are hard. That's, oops, that's the point. So when you're doing guys lips, my way or the highway, or you just like if you're doing these kind of stereotypical guys lips where you don't want them to stand out like unnecessarily, like the unnecessary amount, then make them a little bit smaller, like not as full as the lips of the girls, and you know, make them more sort of, well, I wouldn't really say orange, but they are more closer to the skin tone. Like these both are, this is the exact same skin tone that I just used, and as you can see, for the girls they go more towards like the pink, but for guys it kind of stays very close to the original color. So that's one thing. And another thing I kind of wanted to emphasize is a little bit about the shape of the lips. Now the lips kind of work like this, even for guys, but it's just more straightforward. Like for guys it kind of goes like straight line here, straight line here. Not exactly, but of course there's a little bit of a curve. But for girls the curve is much stronger, like, you know, like this. And now that we know this, I think I'm just gonna focus, like when we are painting, I'm just gonna focus on girls' lips, because they are the kind of lips we want to emphasize. They are the kind of nice, rosy, cute kind of lips that you guys wanna do. Here's the guys' lips. Nothing too interesting. Just make it more like stereotypically more like a box. Like, you know. And girls are more like a ball. Here's the here's the easiest way to think about it. Okay, so let's go to the lip painting portion. I blended these. I put some base colors down. I blended these into the background, because why not? So I tried to do a little bit of a different styles. Let's start with this one. So there are a few ways you can do this. So I tried to show you like a couple of ways that you can paint the lips. Just kind of personally, first I'm gonna get down the shape. It's gonna be a little bit like an open. To be more in the middle. Just a little bit open there. Not like too much. And also, it doesn't really, like, for me personally, it doesn't really matter how messy it is, because I'm just gonna paint over it anyway. But if you do line art or some other kind of things, that's okay as well. Just you do you. This is just how I do it, but you're free to do it your way. Also, we need a little bit of a... We need to fix that a little bit. Now, especially when you're doing like a lips from a side view, it is important, like personally what I find important is that if the middle crown is, or like, if the lips are from the side view, then the line that comes across is not actually a sort of straight, if you could say so. Because if the middle of the mouth starts from, actually, let's put it in here, then the middle of the upper lip basically starts from here and the lower starts from here. This is actually to emphasize, see, like this, and like this. It's this sort of pattern here, so you need to see a little bit like how you place the lip so that it looks as natural as possible. And at first I'm gonna pick a color. I personally like to do quite a saturated, so that's what I'm gonna do. But what I personally is that I like to have the opacity of the brush not on 100, but instead something 80, 90, because I personally like to sort of make this part hazy, sort of, so that it's not like, you know, a strong color, but instead the color kind of fades towards the end. But that's just because I personally like that type of coloring. So the color for the way I personally do it, it's always strongest in the middle, and then it kind of hazes, it kind of disappears towards the end. And I may add a little bit like here. Now the thing is that when your mouse, why do I say mouse? When the mouth is open, the upper lip, especially if you're from like if the mouth is just a little bit open, it's actually the upper lip sort of like covers or overlaps the lower lip, so they, like, instead of it going like, you know, this, because this is not how the lips work. Instead it's more like this. So the top lip kind of overlaps the bottom one. And another important thing to know is that usually if the light is from natural source, which is usually from above, like here, the upper lip is usually a little bit darker, so it's not as bright as the lower lip. So I'm just gonna put some shadow here. And also this part, this part is also a little bit like within the shadows, like here, because this is the area where the shadow hits the most. Also a little bit like under the lip, but the purest color is like in here. So You can kind of do whatever you like, but I'm just gonna show you the way that I like to do things. Also, I need to kind of erase this part because, or just paint over it. Also, just paint over this part because oops. And the darkest part, this is usually something like I keep because this is the part, like whatever it's a top lip or a bottom lip, this is where the shadow is at its strongest. So this is the point we want to emphasize. I may also put a shadow to here, like just at the line of the where the lips end. This. I usually like to also blend a little bit, like I take a watercolor tool and then I just kind of blend it a little bit together. I will also blend the line part, like here, to make it not to stand out like unnecessary amounts. And oops. You can also leave this little like um, sort of dots. I just don't know how to really explain it. It's usually where the shadow is at its darkest, but I also think that it kind of creates this nice sort of touch to it, which is why I personally like it. For me, it's more like it just looks nice, so I want to have it there. So also want to make the lower lip a little bit fuller. Like to make it a little bit like bigger than the upper lip. Just like these kind of small light strokes. And a little bit like under here. Also a little bit of a base color back. And if you want, you can also turn the brush, like the opacity, and kind of just color. Gonna add more dynamics to it. But I personally like to keep like this area the darkest, and so like this part and this part here. Then let's do a little bit of blending. This is actually kind of simple to do when you kind of figure it out. You only need to get like the shape the right and you are good. Spend a little bit here. Also I also want to have a, but you also want to have a little bit shadow in here. Oops, it's still a multiply. No, I just want to use regular color. Kinda like this. It already looks pretty neat. And oops. I keep touching the tablet, so it keeps like when I touch the tablet, it sometimes takes it as, you know, me trying to do something, and I was just like, no, it's just my elbow. I don't want you to do any changes. And we are also at this point. Let's add a little bit. Let's add a little bit like the these that are poking out. And let's see. Should we make that a lot darker? The teeth aren't really like straight, so I would personally advise, like, of course depending on how wide the mouth is, but it's just kinda like look a little bit nicer when you just, I want to make them a little bit like smaller in a sense. At this point it can still look kind of dull when it's just basically it's just basic shape, but that's why we have highlights. I usually like to add the highlights at this point because then I can go and, because just by adding very simple highlights makes it already look so much better, just from my point of view. I usually like to add a little bit like shine here. I don't usually go and add that much shine to the rest of the lips, like here and here. It just kind of doesn't make sense. Sometimes I may do like this, or you know, add a little bit to here as well, but that depends. I usually put the more like radical shadows to here. Highlights to here. And I usually like to use really like saturated highlights because it brings like really nice contrast. and I try to avoid like blending too much. I do like to blend my works, but I also want it to have a little bit like hardness to it. Kind of like it's not too soft but too hard, because I believe that's the best kind of mix when you have like softness, but it doesn't look like you blurred everything in. So leave some. So personally, in my personal taste, I would leave some hardness around. And now let's take here, and I'm gonna lower the opacity a little bit. And what I'm gonna do is just kind of add the gloss, or like I'm gonna add the glow because we already have the gloss. And what I also like to do is that I usually like to emphasize it a lot, like the lips a little bit. So I may give a little bit highlight on the like outline the lips a little bit with the highlight. And I may put something in here as well. And I'm gonna blend it a little bit, so we can also look what it like. Here's basically the grayscale. You can also like put in more saturated, less saturated, however you feel like. More saturated, less saturated. But I like it to have sort of good mix of both. I may adjust the colors later, but in my paintings, but for now. I'm not too like good with the teeth. I do admit that. it's kinda hard to make them work, but I usually just try like first I make a straight line and then I just kinda do this kind of little bit like a wavy thing, and then we want to add some shadows. I'm actually gonna use the multiply to it because it's easier. And then when you want, you can also give a little bit of a shadow, like and personally I like to blend it so that I don't want like the parts to stand out like too much. So I usually do the teeth like this, and I may add a little bit more shadow and maybe blend it a little bit in, but so that it's like here, but so that like the one mistake I feel like you can make is that you make these like really dark outlines, because it just kind of looks weird. Especially if you're doing this kind of short, like soft type of. Let's add a little bit like purplish gray actually. And we can also add a little bit like highlight to the teeth like this. Just not too much. I would avoid like making these too glossy, so instead just trying to keep them kinda mild. But that's just my personal preference. Also, I wouldn't do this either, like, because that just makes it look really weird. So if you want to like emphasize where the teeth start, then put it much rather in here, like the lower part, but just don't go doing like, now it looks kind of good as you can see, but if you do like this, see, it looks really weird, like there's a lot of space. You don't want space. We don't have safe spaces here. Go elsewhere. So this is basically the first way that I personally prefer to do the lips. I feel like it's this kind of nice glossy. Of course, if you sometimes I will add details, or most of the time because I have an eye for detail, then I add just a little bit, like a little bit of these kind of lines in the lips, but nothing too radical. Instead, just a small touch here and there, and then just clean it up a little bit. And also, let's do it this way. Oops! Yeah, I told you. This is what happens when I touch the. Also, just another small reminder that when you want to put like a shadow like under the lip, don't put it like don't put it like right here. Instead, leave a small gap like this, because the lips come like the lips come like out of the face. Same with like if you put it this one. Don't like make it so that it actually touches the lip, but leave a little bit space around the lips and you are good. That's like the best way you can do that. I don't personally prefer to emphasize the cupid's bow as much, so I'm just gonna do a very, very, very slight one. Barely noticeable. And then you can also add, depending on the light source, you can add a little bit like highlight to this part of the face and probably a little bit to here, and even when you add shadows, kind of like put it in here. So it's important to leave a little bit like a space, between the lips. And then you basically get the best kind of resort. I don't want to put the line white though. I'm just gonna put a small highlight. Did I do something? Oh yes, I did. So here's basically the first way you can do a lift. This is the way that I use most commonly because I really like the kind of soft look it has. But I try to show you a couple of other ways to do a lift. So yeah, stay tuned. I'm gonna take a break and we will be back. Okay, so next type of lips, I'm trying to do a bit more cartoony because I feel like this may fit more for those who prefer like, or who has more cartoonish style. So I'm just gonna do a little trouble with the line weight. So I just try to I'm just trying to do a little bit more cartoony. I think this could work fine with the line art as well, but you know, we don't do line arts. I'm just gonna do crappy things like this. Oops. These are gonna be kind of like doll type of lips, you know, that you see in really cute dolls. She looks too mopey. Let's have a little bit of smile on that face. Now it's better. It's a lot better. Okay, we're gonna size. The bottom lip is a lot bigger in here, but that's just kind of how I want it to be for right now. It's just a different types of lips. So basically what I do is that I start with the same, but we are actually gonna start with a little bit more orangey, pinkish color. Oh, why do that was a mistake. And kind of do the same as at first, so you know, make sure it kind of fades to the sides, and strongest in the middle and fades to the sides. So the bottom lip is a little bit too standing out, so we're just gonna adjust the size just a little bit. No idea where I'm at. Okay, so looks better now. So like this. You can sort of softly erase these, at least make them not to stand out as much. This can be more visible, but we don't want the upper lip to be as visible. Also, what I want to do is that I want to go more towards vibrant red instead of this. So we're just gonna kind of place this line. with the vibrant red. Okay, you can have it a little bit like this. And then what you can do is that I go to more pink. Also, don't be afraid to turn this wheel. Like, I wouldn't, like personally, I wouldn't just stay in the same color like this. It's not gonna turn out nicely, so you know, don't just stay in one color zone. Instead, actually just, you know, turn the wheel and choose the color. See, looks much better when you go. Like this color looks much more fitting than, say, this color. Oops. I want to have this color, but I want it out. And actually, in this case, I need to go a little bit lighter. I took the multiply again, and for this, we actually take a soft brush and kinda color like this part, like the middle part of the lips, like this, and so that it looks really nice. And if you want, you can add like, and what I'm personally gonna do again is blend it a little bit, like here. Especially like the bottom part. I'm gonna leave these parts more hardened, and I'm also gonna leave this a little bit hardened because, again, top lip is usually the one that kind of has the more shadows to it. And what I also want to do is that I'm gonna erase this a little bit. I can leave a little bit of it like visible, but just a little bit. Not so that it stands out too much. We could actually try to take a little bit lighter color on that. I'm kinda, oops, I still had a multiply on. So for the top lip, we're gonna go a little bit lighter color. This is actually kind of simple to do. So I'm actually gonna just here. I just add just a little bit of it like contrast and other stuff like that. And then when we have this in here, what I would suggest you do, because even though it looks really nice, kind of dull lip like, but we want to add a little bit of detail to it. So what you want to do is that you want to kind of add, kind of like adding eyelashes to the lips. And you can also add them a little bit to here, whatever your preference is, but I'm gonna stick like darker to the bottom. So I'm gonna blend just a little bit in here. Let's take a color. I'm gonna emphasize this line. This. Also, what I want to do is I'm gonna take this. Just take a color. We're gonna add a little bit of a shadow to this area. Don't press too hard. Like just a mild, like mild shadow. Very light touch. And if you want, we can also take a little bit. You can also like darken a little bit, like this area here. But so that it still fades towards the end. And just gonna take, I'm also gonna lower the opacity a little bit. Harder brush, please. Just kind of unnoticeable kind of detail. And then take the multiply off, and I usually take more saturated color and add like these to here. You can also kind of have them overlap like this. So ding ding. If you want, we can paste that. I don't want it to be so visible, so I'm also gonna do a little bit of here. I'm so perfectionist, like I'm just so perfectionist when it comes to these things, like blending. I was just like do one wrong move and it's just gotta redo it again. But I kind of want it to be more soft, also a bit more towards saturated red, like this. And the part can also be a little bit more. Like I would recommend just like leaving a little bit like contrast somewhere in this area, because oh, I multiply on. I'm gonna take it off because otherwise it's just gonna become black. I don't want black. I want dark red, but not black. Let's just keep going back and forth. But it's kinda, you can either blend it in or leave the sort of hardness to it, whatever your personal preference really is. It's not something I can choose. These are just examples how you can do it, but in the end you are in charge. Now I do the same as the last time and add shine to here. If you want, you can add a lot more, like just, but I personally wouldn't go overboard. Like nice and neat is good. Nice and neat is good. Now I take like real light pink. We can add a little bit of it here, and also a little bit here. And if you want to do the same as with that one, then you know, you can add the white outlines. See, it's really good, cute doll-like lips. I think it works more. It wouldn't really work on my art because, you know, it kinda doesn't go with it. But it looks really neat on like more cartoony style. Also, I'm just so dissatisfied with the contrast in here. Oops. Actually, no, I don't want a contrast. I want to deepen the color a little bit. I want to also change the hue just slightly towards more pinkish. I personally really like pinkish lips. Slightly concentration. Okay. And now we can move. Oh, this is not perfect. I told you I'm perfectionist. It's like, oh, it's a little bit to the side. Well, damn it. And also these, oops, these are just really distracting, so I get rid of them. These are really distraction. These are distracting. So I can just keep these there. These I can keep, though I'm gonna blend them in more. You can also add a little bit shadow. Shadow under here as well. And if you want, like here, just however you like it. Not something you have to do. And so I'm gonna go a little bit back, I'm sorry. Didn't really render it. As you can see, it has kind of sloppy outlines. I usually do like, just, I don't usually leave my own lips like this messy. I always kinda go back to kinda on some of this. It's just kind of what lips are like. A little bit of fixing here and there. Oh, no, no, no. You can also use free deform, so you can like do basically whatever you like with it. I'm just gonna do this. A little bit higher up. So now there's two of these. Skin tone is a little bit too yellow. Let's go over here. Let's go see. Okay, now it's better. It's a little bit too grayish. So now it's all a bit better. Where is it? No, it's too dark. It's too yellow. I'm just gonna keep that. This is good. So here are a couple of the ways that you can do lips. So let's go on. Actually, this is also gonna fix this a little bit, just with a rough brush, kinda add a little bit dynamics to it. Do a little bit of this. And the bottom a bit more saturation to the bottom, and then blend that in. Just need to fix this a little bit. Okay, let's do that a little bit too much. I always zoom in and out in my drawings, and I would recommend that you do the same. Like when you're drawing, don't just look at it up close, but actually go further away, because, even though a line like this, it may not really, seem bad, but then when you zoom out, it just kind of points itself out, and it's just like, yeah, that just doesn't really work. So it's important to kind of go back and forth and see what works and what does not. Now I want to add a little contrast. No, it's there. I need to. No, it's better. Just a little fixing here and there can go a long way. Now, so here are a couple of ways to do, and I'm gonna try to, for the third example, I try to do more realistic, because this is kind of like the simplified. Here's like something in the middle, so I'm going to try to do more realistic type of lips for the third example. Is that a little bit too yes? Skin tones. You just have to get it perfect. So now we are going to do the third way of doing lips, which is something a bit more realistic, or at least I try to show you how to do a bit more realistic types of lips. It may be a little bit going back and forth. This is not something I usually do, I admit that. I usually do something like more like this instead of really realistic lips, but let's give it a little bit of a smirk here. A little bit. Oops. So now here's the part of the lips. I try to make it somehow same size as everything else. So there, just using that as some sort of guideline. So here's the outline. I just have it there because it's easier when doing these types of more realistic type of lips. And the way that this shadow differs is that I'm using more hotter brush, like just instead of fading in, I'm just doing this. So fix a little bit, and here it is. I'm also going to add a little bit of a shadow here. It's easier. It makes it easier for me. Same with the bottom lip. And I could do some variety of dark red and oops. Now I'm gonna add mid-tone. So what it differs is kinda in here it's a mix between soft and hard. In here it's mostly soft, and here it's mostly hard. It's kind of funny way to explain it. I'm also gonna put a little bit of a shadow in here. Let's do it this way as well. Let's put it in here. Here as well. Oops. And now a little bit of a shape. Adding shape. Now what we want to do, we want to get rid of this. And I also want to add a little bit of light. That's not the kind of color I want. That's not either. I want just a little bit lighter color. Okay, here's kind of good. Maybe a little bit more saturated. Just like in the more realistic type of lips, the importance is kind of like molding the shape with a hard brush instead of like blending in. Instead of blending in like too much. I do use blend, but not so much. So get the shape a little bit. So I'm fixing it. Now here's and we also want to go and add this. This here and fix this a little bit. Oops. So what I personally like to do when doing these sort of more realistic type of lips is that at first I just add colors, kind of. I can take a little bit easier brush now. And at first I just figure out like how I want to do it, and well, you see what I'm doing. Just molding the shape. Oops, what did I do? I clicked something I wasn't supposed to. And it looks like when you go back, it already looks very much like lips. But I'm just going to blend it in a little bit, because why not? I can, so I will. Let me see. Like, the easy thing about when you paint lips, like overall, is that you can just go back and fix it. Like if something doesn't work out, then it's just so simple to just pick a color and just paint over it. So you never really, like, if you get used to it, then you never really actually have the fear that you kind of fucked up for good. Like, that's the issue with especially like layers, is that you have to go back and forth and fix something. When you do it like this, you can just like, it's like, oh, I fucked up, well I'm just, gonna paint over it and fix the parts. When in layers it's kind of like, well, now I have to search all the layers and fix all the things in different layers. It just makes it so much a hassle, which is why, that's one of the reasons why I started to prefer painting, but mostly it was because I just hated the use of line arts. I mean, layers. Well, I do hate the use of line arts, to be honest. It's just not my thing. Not my thing at all, but that's it. Now I have like a basic shape, so let's see. I wonder if I should adjust the colors a little bit. I think I made it a little bit too dark, so yeah. This makes it a little bit easier. And this is also the nice thing, that you can just go back and edit the colors if you like. And basically, I feel like I'm so laggy right now, but basically what I'm trying to say is that, for me in the past, like when I used a lot of layers, then I would have like different colors and different layers, and I would either have to like group tag all the layers, or then I would have to specifically choose the colors that I wanted to like change, and it just didn't really work out to me. I just felt like my work was always out of balance, and not the way I wanted it to be. So here's the basic shape. Now we got this pretty good. And I would still leave, like, I'm doing realistic type of lips, especially like on these type of, like, well, realistic. I prefer like this to be the sort of hardest like hardest out of them three, because not only do I feel like it looks nice, but it also brings more life to it. And so here's what I got for now. So let's, like before, I'm just gonna add. These may not stay for here, like I may go back and adjust some things, but for now I'm just gonna add these here because it sort of helps. And a little bit like, let's see. So a little bit too saturated. Go a little bit towards the orange anyway. So basically what I find important is that like details are really good, but you also need to kind of know where and when you put them in. It's like, it's not good if they are like everywhere. That's not working anymore. These are kind of off the place. And so this looks pretty good. We need to add something in this corner. To make it as a little bit. Like this area is a little bit too matte. So we need kind of bring its shape. So at this point it already looks looks pretty good, but we may want to add a little bit of like shadows, more like a little bit of if you could say feeling with that like hard brush. But let's try a multiply this brush and basically, oh, too much, maybe lighter color. And I personally, I just use really light strokes, so don't press like this. Just like, don't press. No. Instead, just like really light strokes. It's a little bit too much. Now we're on the pretty good track. What I will do is that I blend a little bit, just slightly, so that it feels like the two hard edges. I will keep some of these, and I think we may want to add a little bit of a pink. Let's see. This is good. We don't want to pull the lip up, pull the lip too much, and we don't want to black either. Thank you, no thank you. I may wanna, since it's kinda having a smirk, so the lip kinda has to. Let's do this. Just gonna see. I think I will just keep it the way it was. It's sometimes good to test these out to kinda see what you want, and add a little bit highlight here. This we blend a little bit. No, we wanna adjust colors. Oh! And here you see the values. They're not bad. For my preference though, I need a little bit. Let's see. A little bit brighter. Now that looks better. You can kind of see the difference. Made them a little bit more pink again. Oh. Let's take the brush. And oh, I feel like I keep doing a lot of mistakes. And maybe just a little bit. My joints are cracking. I don't know if you heard. Like it's pretty in a way it's pretty obvious. As you can see, this size is kind of wider, like, so I need to smaller this size a little bit. Oh. We want her to have a small smile, but so that it kind of widens to here. And you can kind of see, just gonna use black, or then I'm gonna use white. Yeah, white is better in this case. Like, you can see that this part is a little bit wider and this part is not, but that kind of comes with the smile, because when you smile, it kind of stretches out your lips. Kind of stretches out your lips. And I'm gonna add a little bit more sort of highlight. Oh yeah, I had a blending mode on. No, I did not want to blend. Just add maybe a little bit to here as well. I cannot really use that color. Just very light brush strokes. And now we can go back to the pink. Like I said, I still like shiny, so I do make my lips shiny, but now we can add a little bit detailed here. And if you want, then also a little bit like darker sort of line to here. Just gonna slightly blend it in. A small bit of and now we're starting to get pretty good results. I still want to emphasize like this area. So I think we're going to add a little bit of highlight there. Oh, I wonder if I added too much. then you can see if still. And so let's see if there's still something left. I think I'm gonna make it. Let's see what the colors. Yeah. There are still like many ways, if you want, that you can add details. Like maybe make like some strong lines here. Just whatever your preference is. This is just to kinda give you a little bit of insight on how I do things. You could say that there's like a soft version, the middle version, and then the hottest version, and they also go pretty close by. So you can basically just decide what you like and what you don't. Let's add a little bit of a shadow, just like in these cases. There, and we may also want to sort of do this. A little bit of a and here's pretty much 3 ways that you can do lips. I'm still gonna just the skin tone a bit. Actually, I'm just gonna keep it like that. So this is only for the mouse part, but just like I explained before, if you're doing like the skin around the mouth, then usually the most highlighted parts are either side of these, a little bit in here usually, and the darkest parts are usually in here, or like this. this, this, all of these things. And usually the shadow kinda widens as well. And widens as well. We can put a little bit of a highlight, so here and here. Same for this. And for this as well. Just how you like it, but here's basically the 3 ways that you can do lips. You can do guys' lips on the same way. Well, if you want, I can do a separate tutorial, but I just wanted to show you like girls' lips mainly, because there are so many ways you can do. I mostly use these 2 ways. Haven't really done much artwork that I found this to be useful. I do have a couple where it's like a small variation, like a little bit different, but basically based around this idea. And otherwise I tend to use these 2, depending on how realistic or how, if it's closer to the anime than this, if it's more realistic than this. But yeah, here's basically the 3 ways that you can do lips, and I hope you enjoyed and learned something, and I hope you were able to keep up with me. I really don't have anything else to say. If you have some tutorials that you would like to see, let me know, because of course I want to do these things. I want to teach you what I know. But these are just for guidelines. Mix it up, try your own stuff. Don't take what I do as an absolute rule. It's just that if you like, you can try this out. So that said, I hope you all have a good day, and I don't know when you will be watching this, but for me it's 2nd of January, so that means Happy New Year 2017. So see you guys, and bye bye.